Man, how y'all doing, beautiful people? I got a question for y'all. Did y'all see what Jason Whitlock did? And I'm going to get into the clip and let y'all see it, so y'all tell me what y'all think.
Brief, and as a player, it's even briefer. But you never had a single conversation with Deion.
Not one.
Not you didn't bump into him and eating lunch or at the training table.
No, nothing. And I'm sure we're going to get into it here in just a little.
Sort of like a politician. One thing about it, in the neighborhood, in the real world, we know what that is. When you go digging up dirt on somebody you don't even know, when you go finding stuff you don't have no business finding, we call that hoe shit. We call that bitch made shit. Measures being 100. And it's one thing to be a journalist. It's one thing to be critical of somebody, have constructive criticism. But when you go out and you find players like this and you do this, man, it just show how much you hate Deion. Now, Jason Whitlock, and this is not just me, but across the social media platform, across the industry, a lot of athletes and a lot of people do not like this guy. I mean, a lot of people. And it's because he does stuff like this. And again, I don't want to take away from the guy. I don't know the guy, but this the same guy that will come up and give you a Dr. Umar Johnson video and talk about Black Power and talk about this, but he literally tears down and destroy people. And Deion Sanders, whether you like him or not, has got a lot of hate because he left Jackson State to go to Colorado. Now, whether you know or not, whether you believe it or not, he was never staying there. And it is what it is. There's always a bigger opportunity. There's always a bigger fish till you get to the end game. A lot of times people don't understand that, and they will never grasp that. And I understand the things he did. It's got nothing to do with the break-ins. It's got nothing to do with the issues, the problem, the water. Jackson State just is on a stage that is not big enough for Deion Sanders. You know, this is a guy that played quarterback and defensive back in high school. He played basketball, baseball, and ran track. Before they were talking about 5 and 4 stars, they just used to call them top players, the blue chips, the best of the best, and he was one of those. He went to a lot of recruiting visits. Most coaches told him he had to sit out. Vince Dooley said, "We love to have you at Georgia, but you're going to have to red shirt and sit out." The reason why he chose Florida State is because he felt like he had an opportunity not only to play right away, but contribute. And Bobby Bowden told him, "I can't promise you anything, but if you come out here and practice and show us that you're good enough to play, we promise you we'll play. But I can't promise you nothing." And he went on to become a 2-time consensus All-American, a Jim Thorpe Award winner, and his jersey is retired. And he is actually in the top 1 through 99. He is number 2, which the Noles have about 3 or 4, but he is the all-time number 2 in college football. Pro Football Hall of Famer, College Football Hall of Famer, top 100 player in college in the NFL, and on the all-time NFL team. So you're talking about a guy resume and the Defensive Player of the Year in 1994. You're talking about a guy whose resume is really second to none. So he takes the job in Jackson, Mississippi, does a good job, quickly turns it around, brings some excitement. Everybody already knew he was going to take more offers just because I don't know what people thought. The stage was big enough. You can say what you want to say about the white man's ice, this and this, but at the end of the day, I've always said the elite coaching baseline is $5 million a year. And if you really think about it, the same situation that Jackson was in, which Jackson is doing good under T.C. Taylor. The cupboard wasn't bare when he took over, and he had an opportunity to come in and be a coach at his alma mater, and he's doing very well, so nobody has an issue there. But Colorado, 1-11, merchandise not selling, tickets not selling, vendors not selling. If you know anything about sports, especially high school, collegiate, and little league, football is the vehicle that's going to drive the entire athletic department. Unless you're North Carolina basketball, Duke basketball, UConn men and women, Tennessee Volunteer, Lady Vols does really well in UCLA, and there's a couple other schools. But for the most part, if your football team's not doing well, then as an organization, you're not making money, and it hurts your other sports. Particularly as one of the reasons why UCLA joined USC and go to the Big Ten is because they were in financial constraints and they were going to have to maybe do away with some programs. That's the part nobody's going to talk about. But Jason Whitlock had no business going out and finding these young men and bringing them on TV to talk about their experience. I'm going to tell you something. When I went to high school, our head coach and a lot of our coaches talked to players, but there's some players they never spoke to. They didn't have an issue with them. They did not bother them. But it just, when you have 60 to 70 players, 55 to 70 players on a football team, you may not speak to everybody, especially the freshmen, especially guys that are not contributing, they're playing freshman team. It is what it is. There's an order and there's a structure. If the coach doesn't call you in his office a lot of time, you may not be able to go in there. And I mean, that's not a slap at any of these players, but sometimes it's an order and a structure, especially if you're not one of the favorites or you're not in Deion's immediate family. I mean, this is a business. A lot of y'all probably are the type of kids like Rico Knowles said that just ran in your parents' room. You know, you at work, you just barge in your boss's office, or people just jump in your car that you work with. A lot of times when you go to somebody's office, you have to knock or ask to come in. You know, when I was young, we just wouldn't walk in on our parents. We would ask, hey, can we come in? I need to talk to you. So I don't really get this other than the fact simple hate. I mean, this is what a lot of problem in America is. This man is gaslighting. He's doing journalism when really he's selling hate. Again, I don't know why he personally does not like Deion, and that's really none of my business. But this video is just, I want to know, why would you do that when you're obviously not a booster member, you're not a parent, you're not a coach, you're not recruiting against this guy. Like, why would you bring something up that really does not pertain to you except because you want to make Deion Sanders look bad? At every turn, you want to make the man look bad. Obviously, Colorado could have won more games than they did, and oh well, so what? They still sold out, merchandise selling. He's brought hope to Boulder. Do I think he'll be there long term? No. I can see him being in Alabama, but he won't be the coach that followed Nick Saban. You never be the man that followed the man. You at least leave one or two coaches in between, because there's nowhere to go for Alabama but down. Tallahassee probably, Coral Gables maybe. I don't think, he doesn't like the Gators, but he's going to move on. But he's going to build Colorado up. He's going to get in the blueprint. He's hopefully can win a conference championship and compete. But in the next 5 or 10 years, I think he'll take another job, 5 to 6 years. But when you're in his situation with a 1-11 team, and you have an opportunity to jump in the portal, you have an opportunity to add depth, to add players you think are better, why not? I mean, the team was 1-11, so it wasn't like he inherited a team that won 5 or 6 games that was close. You had no hope. But to Jason Whitlock, the second coming to Deion, really he's just making fun of him, and that's very disrespectful. Obviously, you can see the shirt, Seminoles since 1983, my favorite team, and I'm always going to stick up for my guys. But in this video, when I saw this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. This is almost the same thing as Paul Feinbaum talking about football. I don't understand it. Paul Feinbaum doesn't know what the A-gap is. He don't even know what a two-hole is. He don't know what the defensive end and linebacker read on the option, what the quarterback read. He don't know what a twist is. He don't know what a choice route is. He don't know what a RPO is. He listen to folk. He don't have a clue about football, but yet people hang on his every word. If you gave that man $1,000, he couldn't tackle my daughter. At 8 years old, you gave that man $1,000, he couldn't tackle my daughter. But we listen to these people. And again, here's Jason Whitlock getting on his platform, and he's consistently bashing a coach that literally gave his team hope. And the reason why a lot of people are jealous of Deion Sanders in Colorado is because they were getting more talk. all summer, even in the preseason. You heard Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning came out and said, I hope everyone that was watching is watching. What he's really saying, all y'all watching Colorado, y'all need to watch us. But again, at the time, didn't nobody give a shit about you, Oregon. And I know y'all felt some type of way because y'all wasn't getting the normal chatter, y'all getting hype. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like being asked questions about Colorado and Deion. But that's what happens. Colorado hired him, and now game days come. They had buzz. They were selling out. People love it. And then everybody wants to get offended while he's got stars on the sideline. He's got people doing this. It's a distraction. He can't go. How do you know? How do you know unless you've been around the program? Because what you see on TV is not behind the scenes of how the team prepares. You just get a glimpse of it, and you get the final production on the game day. But how do you know him and his coaching staff didn't work hard to get players ready? How do you know? Because they only really, to me, only got beat in one game and they got blew out in another game. Every other game they could have won. So they could have probably went 9-3 or 10-2. But obviously he knows he's got to help the offensive line. He's got to get a little bit more depth on the defensive line. But it's not like they were just bad off. Honestly, outside of 2 games, they were in 10 other games. And that's a huge change. That's a huge bit of hope. So I'm not going to hold y'all much longer, man. Just what are your thoughts? Like, how I grew up, we didn't do stuff like this. We just didn't go and just badmouth people to badmouth people, especially not being a person that doesn't even have nothing to do with it. Like, he doesn't work in Colorado. You know, Deion Sanders now has went from Division I AA, where they had a $30,000 recruiting budget, to I know at least over $500,000 at Colorado. Got to be. If he's there, they probably pushing it up to at least $1 million, $900,000 a year in football. And he has a bigger opportunity, a bigger platform. I would have took it. It's not the end game, but I would have took it. You know, one thing I think people don't understand in closing is when Deion was at Jackson State, he mentioned a lot of issues that never got resolved. Playing in classics, but your team ain't making no money. You get what I'm saying? He mentioned that when the HBCUs in the early part of the season, they go out and they play these money games. UAB played against Alabama A&M, and the head coach said, well, they got 85 scholarships, so they're supposed to win. I don't get paid to beat UAB. I get paid to win the SWAC. And with that mindset, I would never even want you to come to my door, because Appalachian State has won. Obviously, Jacksonville State beat Florida State. So why do y'all play these games? Why schedule a game you know you can't win just for money? And he spoke out on that problem. He spoke out issues of when he looks at the game and it's a sellout, and then they say this how much money they made. You playing all these classics, but the football team's not getting any money. You donating to the athletic department or to the school, but not directly to the football team. It's a lot of issues he brought up that people just overlook, and he got tired of that. It's about money, but it's not always about money. He can handle not getting paid multi-millions of dollars, but when it comes to the player, you don't want to be struggling. You want first-class experience. You want to be able to do things. You want to be able to recruit. You want to be able to travel. You want to stay in a nice hotel. You want wonderful amenities for your kids. And it just seemed like he wasn't getting that. He spoke out about the issues, because people tend to forget Grambling State. I love Eddie Robinson. Grambling State at one time had to call Doug Williams back because the equipment was inadequate. The practice facilities, the locker room, everything was a mess. And this is Grambling State. And everything was a mess. And this man literally had to come back, and they had to figure out what was going on. The players revolted. They went on strike. Jerseys weren't being properly cleaned, uniforms and practice gear, game gear wasn't being maintained. They had mold. They had all these other things going on, and nobody was taking care of it. And then you want people to just, oh, we okay. That's a big issue. Ed Reed brought up a lot of issues for the school, said, well, we can't do this. So I want y'all to think about that, man. A lot of time, And to be fair, when you're Ed Reed or you're Deion, you don't come from that, you don't understand it. You know, Deion, you think about Deion, when he was in college, Florida State played in major bowl games. His last college game, his senior year, which a lot of people don't know, he was a walk-on because he played professional baseball for the New York Yankees. He paid for that year. He had an interception against Auburn in the end zone in the Sugar Bowl. You think about Ed Reed trying to coach, and he's used to a certain way. He's used to operating a certain way. It may not be right, but it's the truth. If you want better, you got to do better. But when these people bring these issues to light, it's overlooked. That's my biggest issue about it. Talk about that, Jason Whitlock. Don't be a hoe. Don't be a hater. Y'all have a good day.